On this Kindle, I have 50 pitches for new episodes of What If. Hi, I'm Nando, and I V Movies. I am a huge fan. Marvel, watch all the movies, watch all the TV shows, read all the comics, play all the games. Huge part of my life. And I enjoy What If. I think it does a lot of things right. Not every episode is for me. I made videos about that, but I think overall, the show's doing some really cool things. I know a season 2 is in development, and I imagine a season 3 is already at least something you guys are thinking about. So what I have done is I've compiled 50 pitches, 50 individual pitches for different episodes. They are completely free. Go crazy. Make these episodes. I won't bother you at all. Now, I do have one episode that if you like these, it's better than all of these. That pitch is going to cost you. You know what they say. The first 50 are free, but the 51st one, that's where you start paying. Episode 1, What If the Hex Took Over? So this is a continuation of WandaVision. So as the Hex expands, it kind of takes over more and more land, and more of the world gets brought into whatever Wanda has created, this TV verse or whatever. In this version of the story, the Hex just keeps going. Takes over the whole tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, all that stuff. Everyone is in Westview. So all of your New York characters, your Doctor Stranges, your Wongs, your Hawkeyes, you get to play with different genres because unlike WandaVision, where we're talking about just like sitcoms, now we're talking about big event TV to fold in all of these other characters. So we can do shows like Lost, we can do parodies of Game of Thrones, Sopranos, Westworld, Walking Dead, like the big TV shows, not the ones that you got. Although, you know, put Mandalorian in there too. Hell, do a Mandalorian-inspired episode of WandaVision. Either way, this one is What If the Hex Took Over? More characters get involved, and then they can stop Wanda whatever way they end up doing it. Number 2, What If Captain America was president? So I wrote this list before episode 8 of season 1, where, spoilers for season 1, we see that a universe has a Steve Rogers that is taking over as president. Now, this would be a little different because the episode, which could be in that universe, is the running for president. So we see Steve Rogers running for president against Tony Stark. So it's kind of civil war, but with politics. Think about the West Wing or political drama or something like that. And you know who else is running for president in this universe? Loki. From Loki, the vote Loki. He's like a third-party spoiler candidate, so that can be fun. Episode 3, What If Red Skull was also frozen? So the same way that Season 1, Episode 8 kind of redeemed Ultron, a character that is a big part of the comics, but, you know, he had a fun movie, and he works in his movie, but I don't think the movie does the character justice, and he dies in the movie, so it's not like he's going to come back again. But hey, now in What If we get a shot to, you know, see Ultron at his full power. Let's do that for Red Skull. So in this version of the story, instead of picking up the Tesseract and being transported into space like Red Skull is at the end of the first Avengers, as he's doing that, the ship explodes. He is thrown from the ship into the ice. So he freezes, and he's a super soldier, so he's able to survive. And in the 80s, Hydra fishes him out, and he is able to infiltrate the government, do the Del Rusk thing, you know, put on a different face. Now he is a senator, and Captain America wakes up in 2010 and he's like, everything seems interesting. This Del Rusk figure, did we ever find the Red Skull? I think he may be onto something. We can also do Robo Zola. So now Red Skull finds the Zola algorithm, or, you know, a very old Arnim Zola sets him up in the robot body. So that would be fun. And, you know, it's play out kind of like a Secret Empire kind of story where it turns out that the government has been infiltrated by Nazis, and specifically by the Red Skull. Number 4, What If Spider-Man was on the other side in Civil War? Okay, so this is based off of concept art, or at least an idea that I've seen in concept art, which is that AntMan was supposed to be on Iron Man's side during Civil War, which I assume if we're going to keep the balance the same, Spider-Man could be on Captain America's side during Civil War. So just Civil War playing out a little bit differently, where Spider-Man is fighting on the side of Captain America, and their relationship becomes the heart of that character, as opposed to the Spider-Man-Iron Man relationship. Like, I think what Spider-Man and Iron Man have is interesting. I think it definitely, you know, says a lot about Tony's character, and there are a lot of parallels and things that they could teach each other. But I also think Captain America and Spider-Man should have a very interesting dynamic as these two scrappy kids from Brooklyn or Queens that fight against impossible odds. And there's a lot that, you know, connects those characters who don't get a lot of time together in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before Steve Rogers becomes an old man in Endgame. So in this version, Spider-Man is, you know, Captain America Jr. instead of Iron Man Jr. Number 5, What If the Winter Guard was formed? Okay. So this is Red Guardian's Hour of Russian Power that I talked about in one of my videos. Basically, we get to see the Winter Guard, which in the comics, and I think we can keep this mostly consistent with the films. So they've got the Red Guardian, who is Alexei from Black Widow. We can also have Rachel Weisz's character, who is really known as the Iron Maiden in the comics, and she has the mask that you see in her armory in the Black Widow movie. So she's on the Winter Guard as well. Ursa Major, the man who turns into a big giant bear. Dark Star, the dark matter powered mutant. And then Crimson Dynamo, who I guess in this version can be Anton Vanko, Ivan Vanko's father, and, some sort of Tony Stark-like figure. Let's have them form in the 80s or 90s and fight either, crazy 50s Cap, William Burnside, or maybe someone like Omega Red, who is, when you take all these guys out of the picture, probably the highest profile Russian Marvel character who's not, Colossus or a member of his family. Number 6, what if Howard the Duck killed Thanos? Okay, so this is a little weird one. Basically, we're going to play out the beginning of the Endgame fight, but Howard the Duck, who is there and has a gun, takes a really lucky shot and kills Thanos. Then he becomes the greatest hero in the galaxy. So this plays like a VH1 kind of Where Are They Now documentary where we see the rise and fall of Howard the Duck becoming like this intergalactic superstar and then, learning a lesson and becoming just like a poor, useless duck again. Have this one also be written by Kevin Smith because I know he was going to write a Howard the Duck show, I believe. So if he wants to, I think getting guest writers into these would be fun. I mean, obviously, I'm going to write a couple of them, but I'll let Kevin Smith write one as well. Number 7, what if Thor, Hulk, and Loki killed Thanos? So this takes place at the beginning of Infinity War. In the fight between Hulk and Thanos, in the movie, it goes poorly for Hulk and Thor is already beaten. But in this version of this story, Hulk manages to get one over on Thanos while that's going on. Loki frees Thor, and the three of them team up to stop Thanos. Now, it's that fight, but also the story is then Loki has the Power Stone and the Tesseract. So what does Loki do? Loki starts kind of collecting Infinity Stones, trying to recreate Asgard, because that's something that's, really bothering him. Maybe he wants to go back in time, save his mom. But we get to see Loki get the Infinity Stones, which is always something, it seemed like might happen in the comics, especially since we were doing a story where Loki used to have at least one of the Infinity Stones. And in the Infinity Gauntlet comic, Thanos has Mephisto in that story, who's just kind of over his shoulder, and it's like, Thanos, you could do all this cool stuff and I won't double cross you ever. And a lot of people were like, well, that's probably not going to be Mephisto, but Loki could fulfill that role in the movie and maybe covet the gauntlet on his own. So it would be fun to have Loki get the Infinity Gauntlet, see what he does with it, because we've seen what Thanos does with it. We've seen what Ultron does with it. Let's see what Loki would have done. Number 8, what if General Ross became the Hulk? So I am expecting, for reasons inside and outside of the movies and shows, we're probably not going to see a ton of General Ross, but look it up on your own. It's not worth talking about here, but it does seem like Val is doing the things that General Ross would be doing at this point in the story, like creating Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers or whatever. So if we don't need him, let's do one more General Ross story where instead of Blonsky getting the serum, General Ross gets the serum, turns into the Red Hulk, fights the Hulk, wins, kind of has control over his powers, and he becomes the hero in the place of Hulk in the Avengers and Infinity War and stuff like that. And eventually is corrupted by power, kind of loses it, and is a bad guy. Number 9, what if Luis was Ant-Man? So in this version of the story, Scott gets the hot tip from Luis that he got from someone and someone and someone or whatever that story was. But he says, you know what? I just want to play it safe for a little bit. You guys do this heist without me. And if you need any help, maybe I'll help, but I'm not going to be the guy who goes into the house. So Luis says, okay, well, we still have this great tip and, we could probably still do it ourselves. So Luis is the cat burglar who finds the Ant-Man suit and he puts it on and follows Hank's instructions. And Hank's like, oh, you're not Scott Lang. And Luis is like, no, I'm not Scott Lang. Scott's this other guy. Here's what happened. He has a daughter, blah, 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 blah. And Hank is like, listen, I don't care. I need someone to help me. I don't want my daughter to do it because I don't want her to get hurt like her mother did. So you're my guy. Now we can play out some of the events of the other Avengers movies like Civil War and Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Endgame with Luis instead of Scott Lang. Number 10, what if Pangborn was the Sorcerer Supreme? The return of everyone's favorite guy, Benjamin Bratt, as Pangborn. I don't need to tell you, because you are a big Marvel fan. You love Pangborn. You probably got your Pangborn Funkos. Mine are all right off screen. Everybody loves him. For those of you forgotten, he's the guy that Doctor Strange just told about. It's like someone used magic to fix... I think he was paralyzed. I mean, I know because I'm a huge Pangborn fan. I think he was paralyzed and he got his legs fixed with magic. So you should talk to him. And then he's playing basketball and Doctor Strange and him talk, and then Doctor Strange goes to Camelot. In this story, he takes the place of Doctor Strange, uses magic to fix his leg so he can play basketball, but magic basketball. So he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, and it's kind of Space Jam with magic. This pitch makes sense. Number 11, what if the other half got snapped? Okay, this is one that I've heard a lot of people talk about before, but I think they should do it. I think it would be fun. So the other half are a lot of the more powerful characters, so I think if the other half got snapped, they would go kill Thanos. You got like Wanda, T'Challa, Sam, Bucky, Peter, Spider-Man Peter, and Peter Quill, and half of the Guardians, as well as Doctor Strange, and Nick Fury, and Maria Hill. So those guys would all team up, and then they would, go find Thanos. But in this version of the story, Thanos is snapped because he put himself in the pool. And in the version we saw, he was not part of the 50% that got snapped, but he does. So then they use the Infinity Gauntlet. Someone uses it. I think Drax, one of the characters that got snapped. So Drax is a good candidate for this, to reverse the snap and bring Thanos back to life. Ooh, that's kind of poetic. And then all our heroes get to fight Thanos again. Number 12, what if Korg took over CICAR? This one's fun. I really like this one. So I'm a big fan of Korg. I think he's a fun character. And in this version of the story, he just successfully revolts, takes over from the Grandmaster. He prints enough pamphlets. And instead of shutting down the Contest of Champions, Korg turns it into WWE. So the Contest of Champions is now fake. Thor needs to learn to act to get through it. And, it's just like wrestling. It's fun and silly. And I think the Contest of Champions as a concept is fun. Some sort of intergalactic, gladiator thing. So I'd like to see more of that. And this will play out, over the course of one episode. We just see Korg set up Contest of Champions. And we get to see a bunch of really silly, Vince McMahon. Even my immediate family was fooled. And, Stone Cold with the beer truck. Stuff like that. But with superheroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Number 13, what if Captain Marvel stayed with the Star Force? So she is convinced this isn't mind controlled by the Supreme Intelligence. She's just like, you know what? This girls are bad. And maybe I'm tricked. Maybe I have visions that I'm seeing. But, I stay with them on my own accord. And also I, buy into the propaganda that they're selling. And she becomes this destroyer of Skrulls. So by the 2020s, where Captain Marvel would have interacted with their heroes, maybe the Skrulls come to Earth. They're like, oh gosh, someone's hunting us. You guys need to help us and protect us. And Nick Fury, who has met Talos, maybe they're friends. He's like, oh yeah, Talos, you're a good guy. Who's coming? They're like, her, Captain Marvel. Everyone's got to watch out for her. I mean, maybe she wouldn't be called that, but it doesn't matter. So this version of the story is everyone versus Carol. Carol is now a bad guy. And we've seen in What If and just in all the, Marvel Cinematic Universe content, she is very dangerous. So it'd be kind of fun to see everybody try to kill her. Number 14, what if the Dora Milaje killed John Walker? So it's an accident in that scene where they all have him cornered. Someone maybe trips and accidentally stabs him and he dies. So this version of the story, all out war now because Wakanda has killed the new Captain America. And even though he was a jerk, he hadn't murdered anybody yet. So it wasn't like a full-on villain. And it causes an international incident. Everyone fights Wakanda. Number 15, what if Bucky killed Tony? So this could come at 2 points, either during the end of Civil War, where Bucky almost rips out the arc reactor from Tony's chest, or in the middle of Civil War. And I think this maybe is a little easier, because in that part of the story, Bucky is under mind control by Zemo, where he grabs the pistol, tries to shoot Tony point blank, and Tony catches it with his magic Iron Man glove. In this version of the story, glove doesn't work. He just executes Tony. And that causes a big problem. This story is everyone versus Bucky. Everyone, including Steve, because Steve's like, Bucky's gone too far. He has to be stopped. Cheers. Number 16, what if T'Challa killed Bucky? So in this version of the story, T'Challa gets his revenge multiple times in Civil War, where T'Challa does a throat grab like MacGruber and almost kills Bucky, but then he's stopped for whatever reason. This version of the story doesn't work. Not the throat grab doesn't work. The stopping doesn't work. And his throat is grabbed and he is killed. He becomes the focal point of Civil War now, T'Challa, and Civil War is everyone versus T'Challa. Number 17, what if Natasha never turned good? So in this, we'll just have a story where, I don't know, in 2014, there's a Russian spy that shows up and starts killing Avengers. And this is everyone versus Widow. Number 18, what if Hulk beat Hulkbuster? One of my favorite comics, especially one of the ones that I started collecting single issues of, because I wasn't into comics as a kid. I loved the shows and stuff, but I didn't read as many of the comics, but I remember the World War Hulk comic, and I always thought that was really cool. I think we're at a place with the character of the Hulk where we probably won't do that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is a shame. In that story, the Hulk believes that the Illuminati, which is Doctor Strange and Reed Richards and Tony Stark and Black Bolt, he thinks they destroyed CICAR where he was living happily, and it turns out that's not the case, but he comes back to Earth for revenge. Anyway, I like that story a lot. I don't think we have a Hulk that's going to do that. He's got everything together, and he's just kind of like, he's just like a normal guy. Also, I really enjoyed the Ultimate Avengers cartoon. I remember that from like a while back. And at the end of that story, the Hulk fights everybody. He completely loses it, goes on a rage rampage, and that's a really fun action sequence. So in this version of the story, Hulk beats the Hulkbuster in South Africa, I think is where that fight takes place, and Hulk goes mad with power, and he feels really bad about killing Tony Stark. You have to kill Tony Stark, because this is What If. And he just goes on a rampage, and all of the Avengers need to stop him. This is everyone versus Hulk. And maybe this Hulk can become intelligent, and maybe Hulk in this story isn't like the Professor Hulk, but he is a smarter version of the Rage Hulk, like the Rage Monster version, so not Banner. But so he's able to strategize, and he knows a character like Thor's weaknesses, and it'd just be a lot of fun. Number 19, what if Thor killed Thanos? This is just what if he went for the head or the arm, and he stops Thanos from doing the snap. He is driven to madness, since, as we know from Batman movies mostly, revenge doesn't solve everything, and he has not had the character growth that he has in Endgame, where he learns that he is worthy and he can fail and whatever. So in this version of the story, Thor goes evil. We can call him Ragnarok, and this is just like this angry, vengeful Thor taking his rage out on the galaxy after he kills Thanos, because that does not satisfy him, and now it's everyone versus Thor. 20, what if Ultron was good? So in this version of the story, and this is something that I told everybody that I was doing this video on Twitter, someone was like, I've got a couple of ideas, and this is the one that they actually had. Like, I had this idea as well, but they also predicted that, so good guess. What if Ultron was good? So he helps fight Thanos, suit of armor around the world, like that just happens. He doesn't become corrupted. He doesn't have all of the ego of Tony Stark, and it was just like kind of like the Iron Legion in the beginning of Avengers. Maybe Tony never finds the Mind Stone, and he just continues making Ultron as an AI-driven Jarvis kind of system of robots. And in that version of the story, Tony can become mad with power, because now the Ultron bots solve all of the problems, and he becomes kind of, surveillance state. We call this superior Iron Man kind of story. Another story we won't do now, probably, because Tony is dead and it doesn't seem like Robert Downey Jr. wants to come back. So this one is everyone versus a power-mad Iron Man. And we can also, as an audience, be like, he is kind of right. He has made world peace a thing. It's possible, through his robots, but he is helping everybody. Number 21, what if Tony was the Mandarin? In this version of the story, he stays with Maya Hansen in their, brief love affair in 1999. It goes on, they perfect the Extremis formula, and he becomes Extremis Man, uses software instead of hardware. And we just see how that plays out. It's a different Tony Stark. He's maybe a little bit more unhinged. So it's a different Tony Stark, doesn't get the character growth from Iron Man 1, but he also has a really fantastic technology that he perfects, like he does in Iron Man 3, so we see how that changes the world. Number 22. What if Wenwu stopped Mandarin during Iron Man 3? So we know that Wenwu from Shang-Chi hates the Mandarin, that whole thing, and we never really get to see him do anything about it. But in this version of the story, he talks to his guy, he's like, you know what? I want to get that guy. Whoever's impersonating me, this will not stand. So he goes to Florida, I think is where that's happening, and just, destroys that base, and he's like, you guys aren't the Mandarin, I'm the Mandarin. But Tony gets that base with his Iron Man suit, and he's like, you know what, I'm still here to fight the Mandarin, and you seem like a bad guy. So in this version of the story, we get a Tony Stark Mandarin fight that's actually the real Mandarin. So it's something that, we never got to do in the movies, which would be fun in the show. Number 23, what if Mysterio won and joined the Avengers? Okay. I want to do this one forever. I talked about it in my Iron Spider reworking Spider-Man Far From Home video, which is just that Mysterio's plan makes no sense because he doesn't want to get money. He just wants to be noticed. He wants to join the Avengers, but there's plenty of Avengers who would be able to see through what he's doing. So you've got guys like War Machine who have tech that would probably be able to sense all the drones. And then you've got guys like Doctor Strange who would just be able to see into your soul or whatever. So if he ever had to actually deal with one of those guys, his secret would come out. So in this story, he becomes an Avengers, and throughout the episode, different Avengers kind of discover his secret, and he kills them. So this is kind of like a murder mystery, where every time someone gets close, Mysterio kills that guy, and someone, maybe Black Panther or Nick Fury, has to figure out, what's going on here? As more and more of these really superpowered characters who can, Carol can just, sense energy. She's like, something's wrong with this guy. He's not he's not being honest. So that would be fun. And Spider-Man in that universe is dead. Mysterio killed him. Number 24, what if Rhodey was also Captain Marvel? So this version of the story is just 2 Captain Marvels. Rhodey's in the Air Force. We know that's a thing about his character. So what if he kept going in the Air Force? He hung out with a new hotshot named Carol. They were both on a flight next to an experimental Kree engine, which exploded, gave them both powers. So while Carol is off doing her own thing, and she's being a superhero in, everywhere but Earth, Rhodey stays on Earth, and he is the Superman of Earth. So it's pretty much just Rhodey wish fulfillment. Lots of, boom, you looking for this? I think that'd be fun. Number 25, what if Jimmy Woo went to Camelot? So in this version of the story, Jimmy Woo is recruited by Wong after he shows a wonderful card trick to Wong, and Wong says, oh, that's actually, you've got the gift. And Jimmy Woo says, what? I'm not. I'm just doing close-up magic. And Wong's like, I know, but you're something special. And Jimmy Woo learns magic, becomes a Sorcerer Supreme. It's a real silly one. And one of the things about the What If comics that I haven't made super clear is, like, in the old comics, there would be a full issue of just like, this is the issue. It's what if Captain America didn't want to give up the shield? And then at the end of that comic, there would be like a 3-page story that is, what if Spider-Man became Galactus? And it's like a silly one. It wouldn't make sense for a real book, but like, we could do something like that here, where it's just like Jimmy Woo is Sorcerer Supreme and he does close-up magic instead of, karate and silly little, glowing circles like Doctor Strange does. He just makes things disappear and he pulls rabbits out of hats and stuff. So that may not be a full episode. It could be a part of an episode. Number 26, this one is a full episode. What if the Avengers formed in 1997? So in this version of the story, the Frost Giants attack for some reason, something that just didn't happen in the original Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's 1997, so we don't have Captain America, we don't have Thor, we don't have Tony, who shows up. In this story, we get Captain Marvel, obviously Fury would call her, because her movie takes place in 1995. Captain America in this situation could either be Red Guardian, who is active, and maybe they call him from Russia. They're like, so we need your help to fight these guys. Or, and maybe we could do both, Isaiah Bradley can be taken out of retirement. He is, a little bit younger. You could also have Howard Stark be Iron Man, since, as we know from What If Episode 1, he could just build an Iron Man suit if he wanted at any point, especially if he has the Tesseract, which S.H.I.E.L.D. has access to. We also get a Hank Pym cameo. He can be in this because he was Ant-Man at that time. Or, I think this might be more fun, Bill Foster. You have Goliath be the Ant-Man in this story, but the big Ant-Man. We can get Lawrence Fishburne to take on that role. He seems like he'd be down for something fun like that. We have a magic user. We can either do the Ancient One, that's the obvious choice, or a young Caecilius who isn't a bad guy yet. He can be the sorcerer on this team. And then obviously last one with T'Chaka, who obviously, he's going around the, California stopping Eric Stevens' father. So why wouldn't he help out if there's an invasion of frost giants? The other characters we could include here, you could throw the Ravagers in, but not the Ravagers that we're familiar with, the ones that are Sylvester Stallone, and maybe a younger Yondu, but like the original Guardians 3000. Number 27, what if the excons used the Ant-Man suit to get rich? So I don't know if you guys know, but there was a deleted scene from Ant-Man 1 where the excons, which is like Luis and Scott and all their friends, the Polka Dot Man and T.I., they all go to a casino. Ant-Man flips over the dice, so they win, they become rich. It's just like a little story where it's like, what if there's some Ant-Man shenanigans? They learn a lesson or something, but basically, they just use the Ant-Man suit to get rich. Number 28, what if Spider-Man joined the Vulture? So in this story, he buys the Vulture's argument about, being a working class hero. It's like, Tony is a dick. You're right, Vulture. And I'm, at this point, pretty into your daughter. So, you know what, heck, I'll join you. Vulture can bring him on the team as, a fledgling, just like a joke. Peter will hate, and they fight Tony. And maybe in this version of the story, Spider-Man gets wings too, which would be pretty cool. That'd be interesting. Number 29, what if Battlestar survived? All right, so in this version of the story, John Walker is still Captain America. The Battlestar death turning him into a homicidal maniac does not happen. Now, I know what you're thinking. What happens then? How does that change anything? The answer is, it doesn't yet, but whatever Sam's going to do in Phase 4, if they're going to have a Captain America 4 movie where he fights the Serpent Society or whatever, John Walker does that, which means it's probably going to be worse. I don't know how much worse. Watch this video in a year and then we'll know. Number 30, what if Wanda watched Westerns? We can do this a couple of different ways, but basically Westerns are very popular internationally, so maybe, instead of watching sitcoms, her dad brought home Bonanza every couple of days. And Wanda, instead of making Sitcom Town, makes a Cowboy Town. That's pretty fun. Basically, it's Marvel 1862, which is a comic event that they did not too long ago, or just all the Marvel characters, but Wild West. You could also do 1602, make her just watch, like swords and sorcery kind of shows, and whatever it is. Basically, it's like, what if Wanda was a fan of a different genre besides sitcoms? Also, I'm realizing, like, 1602, it's not like sword and sorcery. I don't know what that is. Like conquistadors, I guess? I don't know. Number 31, what if Pietro survived and Hawkeye died? So that's based on the original pitch. I believe in Avengers 2, Hawkeye was going to die and Pietro was going to survive. They switched that for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure. Just this version of the story, Quicksilver is on the Avengers, and he is part of the team going forward. Most of what this means is Wanda and Vision's relationship does not happen because he's way too protective of Wanda. And not in like a creepy, Ultimate Comics way, but just in like a brotherly way. And we know that about their relationship. And they have a difficult relationship in the comics, and not the, not the incestual one, but just like in the 616 comics, he's like a little protective of her, and she's like, give me some space, bro. So we can have that play out. She fights with Vision. I'd like to see a Quicksilver versus Vision fight. That would be fun. I'd just like to see more Quicksilver on the team. Number 32, what if someone else snapped? So I've already made a video about why I believe Nebula should have taken the Infinity Gauntlet in Avengers Endgame. This is different. This story is, what if 2023 Nebula, so like present day Nebula, was killed by 2014 Nebula, so past Nebula, who had not had the character growth, had not grown, was still just Thanos' minion, and she got the Infinity Gauntlet, went mad with power, and did not give it up. That's a lot like what happens at the end of the actual Infinity Gauntlet story. Nebula gets Infinity Gauntlet and like fights with Infinity and all that stuff. It's very cool. So we do that here. Karen Gillan seems like she's super... Is that her name? Karen Gillan? Because there's also the comics Kieran Gillan. I don't know. They shouldn't give two people the same name. Karen Gillan seems like she's down for this stuff because she was in a couple episodes of What If so far. So let's give her her own episode where she gets to go super evil. Also, she can have hair in that one too. Number 33, what if Throg formed the Pet Avengers? This is tricky since I don't know the deal with Throg in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Throg, for people that don't know, is the frog version of Thor. Now, I believe in the comics, Throg is a guy, I want to say like Walter Samuels, I'm probably way off with that, but he's just a guy who is turned into a frog, and then a piece of Mjolnir chips off, and he turns that piece of Mjolnir into just his own Mjolnir, and because he is worthy, he becomes Frog Thor. He shows up from time to time and is part of the Pet Avengers. We don't have most of the Pet Avengers that would be in the Pet Avengers, like we don't have Lockjaw, we don't have Lockheed, we don't have Miss Lion. I don't know, does Spider-Man have a pet? I don't think there's any indication that Spider-Man has a pet. We don't have Red Wing. There's very few of those. But we do have a fair amount of pets in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And maybe like there's a story where something happens. Maybe Crokey, who has to be the bad guy in this, right? Makes all the humans fall asleep or something. And like they can't stop him while he's robbing banks or whatever he wants to do. So Throg has to form a team of Goose, Red Wing, who maybe there is a Red Wing that exists because I'm, not upset that it's a drone, but it'd be cool if it was an actual Falcon. Sparky, the WandaVision dog, but that dog is a ghost now because of magic. Morris, the furry thing with the wings from Shang-Chi. Antony, or an ant of equal or lesser value from the AntMan series. And Cosmo, the space dog from Guardians of the Galaxy. And heck, maybe even have Howard the Duck show up because he is a duck. And that would be fun. So you'd have to take orders from Frog Thor and he'd be like, I'm like pretty much a guy. I don't have to listen to you. I'm just going to get drunk in the corner over there. That'd be cute. Dummy can be their Jarvis. Dummy being the robot arm that Iron Man always yells at. One other fun little detail. Throg could try to recruit the Captain America monkey. And then he is told like, nah, it's just a drawing he did. Throg's like, shoot, that'd be pretty cool if we had a monkey Captain America. Because like, he'd be pretty tall. Number 34, what if Erskine survived? So Erskine is shot in both the What If version and the real version of Captain America, the First Avenger. So in this version of the story, he is shot but not killed. And he creates an army of super soldiers. The US Army takes over, becomes the villains. Imagine that. Steve becomes the nomad and fights them. Maybe like Erskine doesn't create the super soldier army of evil, but someone else does. I mean, Bradley Whitford's character. Number 35. We're getting there. What if Erskine survived? Nope, did that already. Number 35, what if Rhodey was Iron Man? In this story, Tony cannot become Iron Man because after Obadiah Stane takes his heart out, he just dies. But he does manage to call Rhodey, and this is the next time, baby, where Rhodey puts on the Iron Man suit and beats up Obadiah Stane. Again, more Rhodey wish fulfillment. He becomes a superhero, leads the Avengers. Boom, looking for this. He's great. Everybody loves him. Number 36, what if Loki won the Tour de France? So we see in Loki, in the show Loki, there's a Loki variant with what I think is a bicycle outfit holding a trophy. We never see that Loki. There is a Loki who has a helmet that's got a bicycle, bike horns on it, but I don't think that's the same guy. It doesn't look like the same guy. So in this episode, we see that story play out. It plays out like a sports documentary where there's this young up-and-coming racer named Loki or something, a French version of Loki, and he is cheating with magic, and the Avengers figure this out, and they're like, we gotta stop him. But we can't just fight him, he's too popular. So let's all join the Tour de France ourselves and do a bicycle race. That would be fun. I don't know which Avenger would be the best bike rider. Probably Captain America, since he is, super physically fit. And also he can do this all day, which endurance is like the main bicycle skill. Or maybe it'd be Vision or something, because he can fly. He'd pick up a bike and fly. He'd probably get disqualified. Iron Man would probably have a really good bike, but it would break because something. The bike would turn evil and fight everybody. Thor's bike would probably have way too many wheels because he is a horse with too many legs, so that wouldn't work. Hawkeye might have a good bike. And Black Widow rides motorcycles all the time. It'd probably be Black Widow would be the best. Number 37, what if the Warriors 3 did something? I don't have an idea for this, but they should do something because they don't usually do something. Get Zachary Levi back, just a full Warriors 3 bottle episode. Maybe they can save Throg. That's something. I probably won't do that, though. Number 38, what if Vision killed Tony? So instead of injuring Rhodey during Civil War, Rhodey is also able to duck out of the way of the beam, and it just absolutely destroys Tony. And not just, knocks him out of the air, fully cuts his head off, and he dies. This is another everyone versus. Is everyone versus Vision. And also Wanda would probably be there. And also Hawkeye would probably help out Wanda and Vision because he cares about them. And that's the story. That's this episode. Number 39, we're making progress. What if Malekith won? So in the same vein as villains who, like Ultron in the episode, or Red Skull in an episode I've already pitched, deserved more than they got. I don't think anybody has ever deserved more than they got than Malekith, who is this super, fun, flamboyant, dynamic, exciting villain in Thor comics, and in the movies, he's a very quiet guy who doesn't really do that much, walks around. In this version of the story, the Aether is destroyed, but Malekith still takes over Asgard, unites the 10 realms. There's 10. I don't know if there's 10 in the movies, but there's like a 10th realm. So let's leave that out. He unites the 9 realms, or I guess 8 of the 9 realms against Earth, and leads war on Earth, which is where Thor is going to be staying at this point. We get kind of War of the Realms, which is a recent comic event, which would be fun because we get to see the ice giants and the rock trolls and the elves that never come up, and they all fight everyone on Earth. That could be a full season arc. Episodes 8 and 9 of season 2 could just be War of the Realms. Number 40, what if the villains fought Thanos? This is 100% based off of fan art of just all of the villains fighting Thanos, because it's some of them would be pretty good, some of them probably not so much, but would they be able to beat Thanos? And this episode won't make any sense and be filled with nothing but plot holes, because it's if Ironmonger beat Tony Stark, there's no need for Whiplash to do his whips, or for Mandarin to do Mandarining things, and if Loki killed Thor, then Hela wouldn't show up, or whatever. We kind of forget that. Maybe Doctor Strange just pulls them all from alternate universes and is you guys give it a try. But there's guys like Hela, Ego, Wenwu, Killmonger, Zola as a bunch of tapes, Databank, Red Skull, all the Iron Man villains, and just have them fight Thanos in the fight on Titan. See how that goes. Maybe they win. Maybe they lose. Maybe one of them wins and they all just fight over the Infinity Gauntlet after that because they all want it. Number 41, what if Ronan destroyed Xandar? At the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, they have to dance off to save the world. What if that doesn't happen? What if Star-Lord starts to dance off and Ronan says, well, this is stupid, and then just touches the Power Stone to Xandar, destroys the whole planet, and then goes on galactic conquest. So characters like Carol and the Asgardians and the Avengers all get involved. And also, Ronan gets to fight Thanos because Thanos says he's going to bathe the Starways in your blood or whatever. It's a weird, who am I, the Mandarin? Not the Mandarin, but the Trevor Slattery. I'm going to bathe the Starways in your blood. This one's going to have outtakes. These usually don't have outtakes. Just galaxy-wide chaos. Very fun episode. Number 42, what if Wenwu invaded Wakanda? This became one of my favorites. We have Wenwu, who is this very wealthy and knowledgeable worldly character who's exploring constantly and has this gigantic empire. He probably knows about Wakanda, especially if guys like Claw will just tell you. He's probably figured out that it exists, and Wakanda has some sort of connection to the afterlife via the Panther tree. So Wenwu would probably be oh, maybe I can use that to get my wife back. Wakanda would say, well, you can't use it because only the Black Panther can use it. And then Wenwu goes to war with Wakanda. Would not that be fun? One of the things that Marvel What If has done so well is the fight scenes have been really terrific, and especially when there's like cool hand-to-hand combat, like that martial arts in What If is awesome. So I'd love to see the Black Panther, like the Dora Milaje and all of the Black Panther characters fight Wenwu and Razor Fist and all of the Shang-Chi characters. That'd be super cool. Number 43, what if Sylvie grew up to be a Valkyrie? Another one of my favorites. There's a fan theory in Loki that Sylvie's Nexus event was she thought the Valkyrie were cool, and instead of being a Loki, wanted to be a Valkyrie, which is I don't even know what they are, like secret, SEAL Team 6 of the Asgardians, led by Valkyrie, who I think in the comics, and I don't know if this is canon, but her name is Brunhilde usually. I guess that didn't go with Kang's plan, or Mortis's plan, or whatever his name is. So she's playing with Valkyrie toys. That's why it's like, oh, maybe this was the moment where she decided this was for her. So in this version of the story, Sylvie gets to fulfill her life, especially now that Kang / Immortus / the one who remains is he who remains. He's out of the picture. So Sylvie gets to become a Valkyrie. Sylvie and Valkyrie become very good friends. Maybe a little bit more than that. Wink, wink. And Jane Foster could be the third member of the team when she becomes Thor, especially because in the comics, I believe Jane Foster currently is the leader of the Valkyries. So like those three are just this new team of intergalactic super Viking warriors. That'd be cool. Number 44. What if Wanda resurrected Pietro? This takes place at the end of Age of Ultron. In this version of the story, instead of just moving on with her life and going and doing a civil war, Wanda is very sad about her brother Pietro dying, and she resurrects him. And we do WandaVision, but with Pietro instead. Now, why is this fun? A, you get Aaron Taylor Johnson back. Or, you can have the other guy. You can have Ralph Boner. Or you could have them both. Have Evan Peters and Aaron Taylor Johnson just read lines, alternate lines, like three-headed Broadway star in Whose Line Is It Anyway? Anyway, the point of this episode is WandaVision, the original series, focused around couples, like it was like the Dick Van Dyke Show and Brady Bunch from the mom and dad's perspective and stuff like that. But in this version of the story, the sitcoms that were playing out in the WandaVision are mostly about siblings. Because there's lots of those. You get The Simpsons. You can do Different Strokes, Sister, Peanuts, The Addams Family, Frasier. That's the comedy is now. Wanda and Pietro don't get along. Because this has come up a couple times, but I think the Wanda-Pietro relationship is really interesting. And it's a shame that we didn't really get to do that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So let's just do a whole WandaVision about it. Also, it'd be super fun if in the Frasier version, Vision is Roz. I don't really know who Roz is, but I know she's Frasier's love interest, I think. And that'd be funny, wouldn't it? 45. What if AntMan went back in time? Scott makes a trip to the quantum realm before the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, when he gets stuck, in the quantum realm and learns about time travel. He goes kind of quantum and subatomic in Ant-Man 1 at the end when he's trying to get through Yellow Jacket's suit that's welded to a subatomic level or whatever. And we know that the quantum realm has time weirdness associated with it. So what if he, saves his daughter, but instead of being able to get out, he just continues to go through the quantum realm, goes through a portal, and just travels through time. So, he gets to ride a dinosaur. He goes to the Revolutionary War, the Wild West, all the places in the Hollywood backlot where they make time travel shows. Basically, whatever Legends of Tomorrow is, but instead of them, it's Paul Rudd. Number 46, this is kind of meta. What if the Watcher constantly interfered? So what if the Watcher just interferes all the time? Like in Avengers, Thor, The Dark World, Ultron, whenever the world is at risk of being destroyed, the Watcher this Watcher's like, you know what, I should interfere. And everyone gets really annoyed with him. Maybe even starts interfering in minor stuff, like characters are picking out shoes to wear, and he's like, oh, not those. I'm the Watcher. That's not a good idea. And they're like, okay, buddy, listen, I get it. You're watching, and that's really already pretty weird, but I don't need you chiming in on everything. And then something really serious happens, and nobody listens to him. It's like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Number 47. What if Toomes stole all that stuff? This is a Spider-Man Homecoming story. What if Adrian Toomes successfully stole all those arc reactors and everything that Tony was transporting from Avengers Tower to the new Avengers base? So maybe Spider-Man just doesn't go, or maybe Spider-Man tries to stop him, but is not able to. Maybe he dies. Maybe he's safe. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. In this version of the story, we do kind of an armor wars where Vulture creates his own Sinister Six, and it's all the technology villains. So obviously we still have Vulture. We have Shocker. Maybe he gets 2 gauntlets now. We get Tinkerer, and he could turn into Beetle, who is a technology villain. I don't think Tinkerer gets enough credit for being one of the most important characters in Spider-Man Homecoming. We also can do Scorpion. Maybe they find Matt Gargan and give him a big robotic tail because of that, that one tattoo he has on his face. the Prowler, Aaron Davis, played by Donald Glover. He can show up as the full Prowler. And then Big Wheel can be the sixth one, because I looked at a list of technology villains that aren't like Dr. Octopus and stuff, and Big Wheel was on that list, and the internet likes Big Wheel. And that would be kind of fun to see Big Wheel, like a good driving character. Maybe there's somebody else in the Vulture lab who wants to be Big Wheel. Maybe that's what Spider-Man, maybe Spider-Man does join him and he becomes Big Wheel. Or maybe Flash Thompson becomes Big Wheel because he's mad that Spider-Man ruined his car. So he's like, give me a car that I can use to destroy Spider-Man. Number 48. What if Hela killed Surtur? This version of the story, very simple. The Guardians, the Sorcerers, and the Avengers need to team up to stop Hela because she is threatening the entire universe, and they need to destroy Asgard. So in this version, we do a real Ragnarok. We can get the Midgard Serpent, we can get all of that to destroy Asgard to stop Hela. Number 49, 2 more. We're almost done. What if Doug killed Hulk? So we never knew who Doug was. We know the Hulk pretty much killed Doug, and Doug is just some guy who Thor sees, kind of laying in a pile, and Korg is like, that's Doug. Doug was killed by Hulk. Listen, I don't want to hear about this accent. It's not a good accent, but we're at 49 here. We're so close to being done. It's like, that's Doug. You're the new Doug. But we never see Doug. We don't know who it is. What if it was a character that was important, and what if that guy killed the Hulk? And I thought about it. I'm like, what Dougs do we have in comics? Pretty sure Cypher, the X-Men, like his name is Doug, but he doesn't make sense here. But what if instead of Doug, he actually meant Duck? Because he just didn't hear it right, and it was Howard the Duck. So what if he killed the Hulk, and he's just incredibly lucky? Like, the Hulk, got ready to fight, accidentally tripped, landed on his sword, cut his own head off. So this version of the story, Thor has to team up with Howard the Duck to kill Hela. Isn't that fun? And last one, number 50. Of course, we had to end up here eventually. What if Justin Hammer was captured instead of Tony Stark? I've talked about this forever. This is not my one episode that I think they should do. That's secret. We're not going to tell you. Like I said, first 50 are free, 51 is going to cost you. But this is just an episode that I've talked about a bazillion times, and I think they should make, because everyone loves Sam Rockwell, and if he's game for this, it would be a real treat. It's just a Mr. Magoo story. If you don't know, Mr. Magoo is this very gregarious blind man from cartoons, and I think that they probably made a movie or something where he is blind, and he, thinks trash cans are people, and he tips his hat. He's like, hello, miss. And also, he walks through traffic and onto construction sites, and as he's just about to fall off of the construction site and die, very luckily walks onto the I-beam and survives. That's like your classic Mr. Magoo. He's blind, he's very confident, he doesn't know he's in an insane amount of danger, but he survives. So in this version of the story, Justin Hammer would be captured instead of Tony Stark. He would try to build an Iron Man suit. It wouldn't work, but he would also build the terrorists a lot of weapons that also don't work and explode, kill all the terrorists, and everyone's like, oh my god, Justin Hammer, you built this cool Iron Man suit, amazing. Tell us how it works. And he's like, I'll never tell, it's a secret. In reality, he knows it doesn't work, or at least he's confused, and he just goes through all of Iron Man's stories failing upwards. For instance, one of the bits that I really love about this, Obadiah is still trying to figure this out. It's like, how did Justin Hammer make this cool robot suit? I really want it. How did he make the arc reactor work? How did it power this suit? How is Justin Hammer, this guy that I thought was a doofus, how did he figure this out? And he gets William, his lackey, into a room, and he's like, build this. Justin Hammer built it. And William says, I don't know if I can build it. And he's like, Justin Hammer built this in a cave with a box of scraps. William says, I don't think he did. It doesn't make sense. And then Obadiah makes his own one, and that one explodes and kills Obadiah, and everyone's like, oh my god, you saved us, Justin Hammer, you stopped that guy. And he just keeps failing up to the point where he accidentally somehow kills Thanos, at Endgame. And he just, it's almost like, I don't know, Dear Evan Hansen, or a story like that, where by the end he's just I have to tell someone that I can't do this. I'm living a lie. But also, I like being Justin Hammer, this hero, but at the same time, I want to tell the truth. And maybe he has a relationship with Leslie Bibb's character, Christine Everhart, who is his wife in real life, and she's a reporter, so that's the person who he'd want to tell the most, but he can't tell her. Ooh, we have some conflict now. This episode writes itself. That's 50 episodes, Marvel. They're all, you can use every single one of them, make a whole season of them, and put make 10 of them are the main ones, and then a bunch of side ones, and then you can throw the ones you don't like out. It's totally fine. All you have to do is make them, and then hire me to make lots of other stuff, and then we're cool. Wouldn't that be cool, Marvel? These are all great ideas. And if you like the idea of the 50th one, the Justin Hammer Mr. Magoo, there's an extended version of this video where I read you the first 6 pages, which I have actually written, like a screenplay. They just exist, and you can find that video exclusively on Nebula. If you don't know Nebula, it's awesome. It's a subscription streaming service that I helped to create, where a bunch of other, really awesome creators and myself put our content up early. We put it up ad-free, and sometimes we do bonus stuff at the end of the video. So we call that Nebula Plus. A lot of my videos have Nebula Plus segments where I talk about a comic that inspired an idea or something like that. Something that I wasn't going to put in the original video, but find interesting. And the Nebula Plus for this video will be me reading the 6 pages of the What If Justin Hammer Took the Place of Tony Stark story. And it should be super fun. There's kind of acting, maybe, if you want to call it that. So it'll read like an audiobook. But also I'll try to put in clips so it kind of plays out the way that you'd expect, because a lot of it is pretty one-to-one with moments from Iron Man. And we have partnered with this video sponsor, CuriosityStream, to create a bundle that gets you a year of Nebula, along with a year of CuriosityStream's high-quality documentary content about things like nature and science. Or this one called The Demolition Man, where this guy called Brendan Moore goes to different demolition sites and just kind of talks you through it. It is so interesting. It is very tense, no pun intended, because like the first episode's about it talked about tension cables a lot, but just like, you never think about it. There's lots of documentaries about how this was built or how this was built, but things need to be demolished, and it's really hard. So this is a really interesting series. I would definitely check this out when you're on CuriosityStream. I was really pleasantly surprised with how cool it was. In that bundle, it's $15 for a year. You get a subscription to Nebula and CuriosityStream. It's not $15 a month, $15 for the entire year. And you can watch extended versions of my videos, as well as all of my videos a little bit early and ad-free. The link is curiositystream.com/Nando. Go check it out. As always, I have to give a huge thank you to everyone who continues to support the channel on Patreon. This is a super fun video. I would not be able to do, cool, fun videos like this without you guys. Also, we have our Patreon exclusive book club. So we just talked about the book Radiant Black by Kyle Higgins, which is kind of like, what if like an older guy became a Power Ranger and he didn't really know what to do with it? And there's a lot to it. It's an interesting book. I enjoyed it. But, we talked about that for a couple hours. Yeah, like a book club. We do that once a month. So that is $15 a month if you want to join that. You can be part of it. We have, I think, 5 or 6 spots left. And there is the full rest of Patreon, where we do live streams where I, talk about how to add the Daredevil characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which honestly is the idea that we're going to do for the September whiteboard stream, which we're actually doing in the very beginning of October, which is so funny because apparently, maybe, rumors that might be happening actually. But we'll talk about it in terms of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, like where they might fit. So that actually, I think this is going to be a really timely and fun discussion. And this is like a live stream that is available to everyone at the time, and then afterwards, every patron. And if you want to vote on the whiteboards, you can throw in $5 or more, be part of the Illuminati tier. You can suggest what we're going to talk about that month. So it's an awesome way to support the channel, and there's all kinds of cool stuff. Go to patreon.com/NandoVMovies to find out more. Also, definitely listen to my podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, where every week we pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details, because man, you got Venom, you got No Time to Die, you got Dune, you got Spider-Man No Time to Home, you got The Matrix No Time to Resurrect, you got Kingsman, No Time to Kingsman, all kinds of great movies coming out in the rest of this year, and probably some not great ones too. And we're going to talk about all of those movies as they come out in our weekly episodes. It's a lot of fun. You can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're at Nitpicking Pod on Twitter, and the podcast again is called Mostly Nitpicking. It's October, so it'll probably be called Ghostly Nitpicking on Twitter, but like, ignore that. Well, don't ignore it, because it's fun, it's festive. Last thing, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, all that stuff. I've been twitching recently. I'm playing some Twitch, playing some Hot Wheels Racers, a game I love because I love racing, and it's pretty much Speed Racer. Once they put the Speed Racer track into that, I will play it nonstop every day with the theme song and everything. It's so cool. I'm Nando V Movies on all those platforms. That's all I got. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.